Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I'm Tim Von Rieden with cgcookie.com, and in this tutorial I want to talk a little bit about finding inspiration. So recently I found this plant on clearance at a market I went to that I still have no idea what it is because the tag just says foliage, but I saw it and immediately saw a pretty cool creature design I could create from it. And I want to talk about how sometimes finding inspiration is very random. So it's not always seeing the latest movie or game or look at an art book. Sometimes it can be just as random as finding a clearance market plant. So I want to talk about that along with showing you guys the creature design I had in my head when I saw it. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So as an artist, you'll find inspiration in almost anything that most people would overlook. And that can be something as trivial as cutting strawberries and looking at the specular highlights that are on the surface of it. So when you're finding inspiration, don't think you specifically have to limit yourself to what is conventional. It's the instinct of a concept artist to look through what's current in our entertainment industry, and that's through movies or games or television and books. And while that's a great start, we are only scratching the surface, so let's dig a little deeper and rather look to the unconventional, such as nature, fashion, artists long past, music, and subject matters not even related to art. And Feng Zhu did an awesome tutorial on this, and I'll link it in the description, and it's all about building your visual libraries. And we build that throughout our entire lives through everything we see, what we watch, what we read, and that's where we pull most of our inspiration from. So when we're feeling kind of uninspired or we're feeling kind of dry artistically, it's because we're not very comfortable with our current inspiration palette. So that's when you have to go outside of what's normal or what you're normally used to, and that's what you'll find inspiring. So that's why this plant, for instance, when I passed it at the market, I found inspiring. It is spiky, it almost has this dangerous sense, but it's very beautiful in the way that it translated this color gradient from pink to green, and I found that really interesting, and especially the way that it bent and curved. So unfortunately, a lot of times inspiration will find you when you're not even looking for it. And you have to be looking through the world through an artistic eye. So look at everything as if it could be related somehow to concept art. And trust me, your world will open up and your inspirations will be pulled from everywhere you go. Now, if you're watching this tutorial, I'm assuming you've been stuck at one of 2 points. The first being when you're just getting started, and the second being when you're midway through the process of completing a piece and you're not really feeling satisfied with it. So let's talk about how we can go about getting past that hurdle. And the first one is just getting started. And there's so much that you can draw. The possibilities are pretty much endless. And that can actually be overbearing, and that can be a detriment to getting started in the first place. So the first thing that you need to do is really set your goal on doing one specific thing and make it reachable and obtainable. So I'm saying if you're trying to do something outside of your comfort zone, so let's say you're more of a character artist but you want to do an environment piece, don't think that you're going to do this like magnificent landscape right out the gate. Try something small. Try maybe doing like how to draw a tree accurately, or trying to recreate the surface texture of a rock. And the more of these little pieces that you obtain for yourself, eventually you'll be able to see the whole puzzle and be able to create an environment because you have the knowledge and the power to go about doing that. Now let's talk about when you're midway through it and you just feel like you're stuck. And this is probably the worst feeling in the world, because then you start to question your own abilities, you start to question your talent level, if you're good enough, and this is where artists usually quit. And my biggest advice here is do not quit. And I'm wondering if I can, there we go. I cannot stress enough that you should not abandon your piece. And if you need to, just put it aside for the time being, walk away from it, or even put it on the back burner, work on something new. And you might also get to the point where you want to be done with it. And I do this all the time where when I finish a piece, I will often leave it a day or two or even a week, and I'll come back to it and add any more edits, because there's a time in your piece where you just want to be done. You just want to call it done, you just want to get it out there and not look at it anymore. But I promise you, patience will pay off, because then when you come at it at a later time, you'll have a fresh pair of eyes and you'll be able to add that little extra bit of polish that might make your piece that much more magnificent. So take your time, don't rush it near the end, and you will be so much happier when you do. And lastly, you will inspire yourself. And I know that sounds like some cheesy ad campaign, but I promise you, the more that you work at it, the more that you'll surprise yourself and you'll be almost slightly impressed with yourself, and you want to keep that going. You want to keep that momentum going through and then that's what will push you over those hurdles. Because no one else has your visual library. You are very unique in the way that you look at things and the way that you are reminded of things, from the way you see color, the way that you want to work with different character pieces. Everything is very uniquely you. And I think that's why we get very discouraged when we feel uninspired, because then we feel like we're letting ourselves down. And that's where that mental hurdle will appear. And it seems that no matter what we do, we just cannot get over that hurdle. And that's when I recommend doing something outside of your comfort zone. So that's why I wanted to do this creature, because I wanted to show you guys that I had no pressure going into this, because I had no expectations of myself of what I was going to do. Where if I was going to do a character, I have so many stigmas about what it should look like, what they should be wearing, the style of it, the way that it's colored. But when I'm doing something like this where it's very free and I have no limitations, oftentimes it's when you create your best work. So I recommend for all of you guys that are feeling uninspired to do something outside your comfort zone and create something more unconventional as well. Because while I think it's great to be inspired from the latest movies, books, and games out there, I think you'll create something more uniquely yours if you pull it more from personal experiences. And who knows, maybe you'll see a creature design when you're walking to the market and you see a clearance plant in the corner. So I'm hoping that this tutorial gave you just some tips to hopefully get you over those mental hurdles. And here's my final creature image that was created in Photoshop and Alchemy. So thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.